Hey guys, so this will probably be the last time I talk about the show until possibly season 2, which I so hope they don't come out with. Um, but we're over here, and I'm going to talk about it little by little. But it's easy just to kind of also see articles that explain it a little better than I could. Um, so we're at South China Morning Post, written by James March. 7 changes in Netflix live adaptation of Cowboy Bebop that will enrage fans of the Japanese anime on which it's based. Everything. Like I said, there are some good things. Like I said, the music, uh, the show, the anime things. There's 2 shows now: the fucking anime and the live action. The the anime had a lot of very good jazz in it, and it really fit the setting that they were in. Even when they're on different planets or stuff like that, the jazz really went with it. Um, the music in here was okay. The fact that they used the actual theme song uh, helped it a little bit because that theme song is so fucking iconic. So for fans of the show, I mean, if you cover your eyes, you don't look at the visuals because they tried to do that in live action. Uh, it's fine because it's flat out the music from the show. Nothing's really changed. So just sit there, eyes closed, and just listen to the music, and you're like, oh yeah, this is Cowboy Bebop. Oh man, this is gonna be amazing. Do 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 do. It's da 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 da. But so here's what is it? 7 things. So fearless Spike. When Spike, John Cho, first visits his old friend Anna, previously Annie, she calls him Fearless, to which he responds, I go by Spike Spiegel these days. Anyone who knew him back in the old days also calls him by this name. Does this mean Spike is an alias? Um, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Fearless, it's kind of like Vicious. They're just like when they were with the Syndicate, that's just the kind of nicknames they went by. But everyone also did call him Spike. And considering he was with the Syndicate, I seriously doubt that Spike is his actual name, because that'd be too fucking dangerous. To use your real name while you're with the Syndicate, especially if something happens and they, you go off somewhere, to try to find you. Having no record of your real name or any real name at all throws them off. So it'd be doubtful that someone who's with the Syndicate would use his real name. So Spike. But yeah, in a Netflix series, Spike is like, oh yeah, I go by this now, which I thought was kind of weird. Jet Black's a dad. Not only Jet Black being Jet Black. For anyone who doesn't know, Jet Black is a white dude in the anime, but he has a daughter. He has an ex-wife. There, there is one scene in the show, and I absolutely laughed. It's just, with all the humor they tried to do, I would get, you'd get a chuckle out of it. I'm like, that's pretty funny. But this scene had me fucking cracking up because of how ridiculous it was. So, Jet's trying to get to his kids, dance recital. It's like something about the solar system. She's playing the sun. So he goes into like this store, it looks like, and he sets up everything he needs to, and it projects the image of him to his girl's dance recital. And he's sitting in the back where his ex-wife and her new boyfriend are, who is also a policeman that he worked with. His name is Chalmers. And everything's fine at first. He's just sitting there. He's talking with them, and then his daughter starts to dance, and he gets up and starts, he's like doing this, and he starts dancing. But you have to remember that while his daughter sees him in this auditorium, he's really just in this dude's store by himself dancing. And then the thing finishes, and his daughter stops and starts waving, and he starts stopping. He gets up and starts waving. He's actually waving to like the store manager. He's like waving. The store manager's like, and he's like, it was so stupid because you got Spike in the back outside, and he's fighting, and you've got Jet in the store by himself with this clerk, and the clerk doesn't know what he's doing. He just sees this big fucking black dude standing there waving at him. But it got a genuine laugh out of me. I found that to be the most hilarious part. You'd have to watch to understand how fucking hilarious it is. But yeah, they show his daughter a few times. Daughter is originally the one that Ein was supposed to go to, but then the ex-wife was like, there's a fee on dogs, and I don't have the amount to pay that, and blah blah blah. So he takes Ein for himself. We see the daughter a few more times. She's kidnapped in the final episode by Vicious. So yeah, a significant addition to his personal life, which in the anime consisted of little more than an ex-girlfriend harboring one of his bounties. For Kimmy's birthday, Jet even tries to give her a certain Welsh corgi. Ein Robot, one of the anime's most beloved characters. Everybody loves Ein, and after I saw Ein, I'm like, I want a corgi. They are absolutely adorable, and they are really, really good pets. When I was living in Texas, I was walking home from work, and this kid, actually, he's not a guy, he was a kid, a teenager. He was outside, and there was a crate, and inside this crate was one of these cute little bastards. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, is that a corgi? He's like, yeah, I got it for my dad for his birthday. I'm like, I'm so gonna go over to your house and steal that shit. But they are really fun, playful, extremely intelligent. So if you're looking for a good family dog, if you have the means, by far get a corgi. They are great dogs. Okay, but Ein is genetically modified, highly intelligent corgi, and the first new crew member to join Spike and Jet. In her new, which they gender swap the dog. In the anime, it's a he. So, because we need to be as woke as possible in 2021, they had to gender swap the fucking dog. Because apparently they couldn't get a male dog that looked like Ein. Given to his daughter, which is Ein's powers aren't explained definitely, but the super smart pooch might just be robotic, as she can project video messages from her eyes. Yeah. We'll talk about this mad lad right here in a second. Well, after we get through. Because, nope. You see this name right here. And you think of, apart from Vicious, this dude is one of the most iconic villains of Cowboy Bebop. And they fucked him up. Julia lives. Julia is Spike's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. But seen only as a spectral figure who haunts Spike's memories in the original series until she reappears just long enough to get herself killed. Julia is a pivotal presence throughout the new show. Oh, boy, is she. Her and Vicious are almost in every episode, and At the very end of the season, she is essentially the owner and she boss of the syndicate. Vicious had dispatched the elders, who were the ones running it, and she's got Vicious locked up because, as I said, 2021, she's a strong, powerful woman. She don't need no man. So this character, who had very little presence in the show, is now the strong female character who runs one of the most powerful groups in the Cowboy Bebop world. So, I don't need no man. Vicious and the Syndicate. Vicious is given far more screen time in Netflix's live-action version than his animated counterpart. He appears in the anime for like 15 minutes total. And that's a good thing. He's supposed to be this looming this looming shadowy figure who haunts Spike. When we see him, we see just how cruel he is, how powerful he is, and we really look forward to that final moment where him and Spike they're basically destined to go at each other. And when it finally happens, it is amazing. But they completely screw that up. He's in every episode. The guy plays him, as said the same thing I was going to say. This dude plays him as if he was playing an anime villain. Very over the top, very, trying to, very animated facial features, trying to get the big eyes going on. It doesn't work. You have, Vicious, who was never really over the top. The best way to describe the relationship is, Vicious is to Spike what like Sephiroth is to Cloud. You have this extremely powerful character, always in the back of the mind of the main character. They clash once in a while, but nothing too serious. They're destined to clash again, and that time for keeps. They don't show up much, but when they do, they are extremely intimidating. They prove their power. They prove how cruel they are. But this Vicious is reduced to a villain you see in almost every episode, and then he gets shot and captured by his own wife. They make him more cowardly. They make him more sensitive. This is not Vicious. I mean, his name is Vicious. Well, not his real name, obviously, but his name is Vicious. This is not Vicious. Playful Faye. No. Everything about Faye was wrong. Everything about her was wrong. There is not one redeeming quality about this character at all. Faye, in the anime, Faye is someone who is a con woman. She is a bounty hunter. But she doesn't come on to the Bebop until a little later on. She is someone who uses her sex appeal to get what she wants. But here, she's also straight in the anime. But here, she's nothing like that. And as I said before in the previous video, they just make her gay for no fucking reason. It doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't enhance her character. They just make her gay. Why? Because it's 2021 and we need more representation. I didn't like the character. And Faye was also one of the most memorable characters. Like, they're all memorable because they each have a personality that's very distinct, and you care for these characters. This, no. No. No, no, no. Oh, God. Where is Radical Ed? Now, in one of the episodes, they mentioned Ed. I think like they said the name like 2-3 times when they said Radical Ed. And I'm like, okay, they're talking about Ed. When's Ed showing up? Well, you guys saw in the last video I did. She showed up all right. And the thing with Ed is Ed works well in anime. Why? Because you're able to draw a character to be as expressive and over the top as you want without being cringe. So, animes, have the big eyes, sometimes when they get excited, the head actually like doubles in size to not only accentuate how excited they are or angry, but to also make it easier to draw more exaggerated features like bigger eyes, wider mouths, stuff like that. That's why eyes are generally drawn bigger, mouths are drawn somewhat bigger because they can be more expressive. But when you try to take that and translate that into live action with like someone like Ed, who is constantly being loud, who is constantly over the top, it doesn't translate very well. Because humans can only open their eyes so much. We can only open our mouths so much. So that over the top, that whole it just doesn't work when translating. So I really think they missed the mark. Like I said, also with the costume, it the hair, wacky hairstyles in anime make sense and work fine because they're drawn. But then when you try to take that into real life, it doesn't work. But so this guy right here, this motherfucker right here, the episode is one of the most memorable because this guy is just a fucking riot. He is so iconic in that show. They kept the powers, or not powers, but basically he's got like this energy field around him that can deflect bullets and stuff like that. So Spike gets the idea of, well, if range combat isn't working, I can't shoot the guy. Maybe if I get close enough, I can, because the shield, the force field, only prevents essentially projectiles. But if you're close range, you can have at it. So Spike realizes that, and he brings in enough knives to go around. And in the anime, this guy's death, they're in this place, this amusement park, and as they're fighting, there's this parade that starts, and Spike does what he does, got in close, and he takes a knife and jams it into this guy's leg. He stops and he starts crying for his mommy. He's like, "Mommy, it hurts, mommy." And then there's like this giant dog thing. It's part of the parade, but it comes and squashes him. Steps on top of him. He dies. In the in the Netflix adaptation, it's the same idea, but there's no parade. Spike gets in there, jabs it in his leg. He starts crying for his mommy. Spike hits the wrist thing, which sends his basically makes him float, and it just starts floating up. Something falls off, like the explosives he had, but he starts floating up, and that's all we see. He just starts floating upwards, probably into the coldness of space. But like I said, Vicious and him are the two most iconic villains, and they fucked him up. Like, he didn't start dressing like this till like the very end of the episode. And it's a shame because the episode is a riot. Like, from the very first, like, I think they show him like the very first scene or something like that, you know, in the very beginning of the episode. It was so great, but they, nope, had to fuck that shit up. So this is one of the scenes. This is the final episode of the season. Hopefully the final episode completely. So this, as you can see, it's like, where have I seen this before? Well, it's pretty much one for one from this. I mean, except a little different. Instead of the stained glass being right behind them, like it is here, it's on the side of them. Same idea, though. But they pretty much one for one. But Julia shows up. This is where it's like, oh god, they went with the I'm a powerful woman. So Julia shows up. She shoots Vicious to get him off Spike. Spike gets up, and they have a little talk between them, like, oh, I thought you were dead. You know, why didn't you come to see me? You know, why didn't you save me? Because she's been married to Vicious since Spike's been dead. He's abusive and all that, and she was waiting for him to come save her. Well, not waiting because she thought he was dead, but when she found out he was alive, she pissed her off kind of, because, you know, it's like, well, you still love me, right? Why didn't you come save me? So she ends up shooting him. In the anime, she doesn't show up, obviously, but Vicious is the one who knocks him out of the window. There's that great scene. He goes through the window and they just kind of like show him falling. But here, it's not Vicious. That's a strong, powerful woman. Shoots him and he falls out. Now, in the anime, presumably Spike dies. You know, this was his, you know, final rodeo, essentially. He kills Vicious. Vicious kills him. Falls out the window to his death. But here, he survives. He survives. He comes back. Jet's sitting outside. And basically Jet's like, oh yeah, if I ever see you again, I'll kill you, and blah, blah, blah. Because Jet finds out that he was part of the syndicate at one point. And yeah, that's when we see him at the bar coming outside, and that's when Edward shows up. But such an iconic scene is well ruined, because this was supposed to be between them. You know, they were like brothers, and, you know, like I said, the relationship between them, like I said, Vicious to Spike, it's like what Sephiroth is to Cloud. Not to mention, they have a very similar look. Sephiroth and Vicious, long white silvery hair, got the black getup, the sword, the katana, very similar. But that's basically their relationship. But no, it's all ruined by the strong, powerful women who don't need no man. And it's a shame. It really is a shame, because this was, if anyone was actually looking forward to this series, this would be the one scene that people were definitely looking forward to because of how iconic it is. Because you remember how just how full of emotions it was in the anime. How powerful everything was. It's like you felt every hit, you felt every shot, you felt every stab or slash. And then when you see Spike going out the window, knowing that he's most likely going to die for good, you know, it really was emotional. But here, He doesn't die. He fucking walks free. This was like the end of the series. This was the end of season 1, and they're still trying to get a season 2. I mean, unless they show that, like, Julia decides to kill Vicious, because in the Netflix series she's got him locked up. She like she takes one bullet, she puts it in the gun, she fires it, nothing happens, and she says, "We'll just try again tomorrow." So she's basically got him at her mercy. He's locked up. It's just a fucking mess. It really is. And like I've said, when you have normally left-wing shill companies, Polygon, Mashable, stuff like that, who are usually like, oh my god, the character's so diverse and powerful women's and this and that, when they're saying that, yeah, this series, it's really bad. When they start saying that, you know it's bad. If you're a fan of the show, if you're going into this as a person who's never seen Cowboy Bebop before, you'll like it. It's I would say fun, you know. But if you're a fan and you're able to point out everything that's wrong, or you know, something like that, when they're saying, "Oh yeah, it's a faithful adaptation of, you know, popular anime," no, this is not a faithful adaptation. They're taking characters from the show, putting them in their own different episodes. If they took actual episodes and translated them, that probably would have been better. But, or characters, like I said, in the anime, Fish is only there for like fucking 15 minutes total. He's not there for long. Like I said, he's this looming threat. You know he's going to come after Spike at some point. You just don't know when. So when you have a villain that's supposed to be mysterious in every episode, it takes away from that danger factor. But if they were to take those episodes and just translate them pretty much one for one, like what Death Note did, not the English, but Japan, when they've translated Death Note into like full anime live action series, and it works because it's just the anime episodes translated into live action. So it translates well. I've said before, I watched it and it was rather enjoyable. The CGI is rather was considering this was done 2009, something like that. It's good. It's good. So if they had done that, I don't think fans would care nearly as much. But there's so many things they changed. They changed these characters that we know and love, and it just ruins it. But if you're a fan, or not a fan, but a just person going into it, yeah, you'll like it if you've never seen Cowboy Bebop before. Just as you'll enjoy Death Note, the live action one, if you've never seen Death Note before. Or you might enjoy Dragon Ball Evolution if you've never seen Dragon Ball before. But for fans, it just proves once again that this is just a money grab. I think the only person who really was more like the character that they were supposed to portray was Jet. The actor did as close, like I said in the other video, his voice was pretty close to Jet. His personality was close to Jet. He was the only one who was believable. John Cho, guy's pushing 50 and he's trying to portray a 27-year-old. It just, I mean, he doesn't look his age, obviously, but there's something about it that throws you off. Not to mention, when he says things, he's just not as charming as Spike is. And I guess one of the reasons is the voice. You know, you have Steve Bloom doing the voice of Spike in the anime. Such an iconic voice. Like, if when you hear his voice, you know that's Steve Blum, regardless of whether it's Spike or Orochimaru or Tom from fucking Toonami. You know that's Steve Blum, and he's very he's very monotone, but yet somehow he's very expressive when he talks. Um, as I said the other the video, when I said when he first says just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am, that line is so iconic. Or also in Bang, it's so iconic. When he does the whole just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am, it's just like you have Faye. I said nothing to do with Faye. They just completely fucked her character. Another female character, we have a time in our lives where people are like, oh yeah, men hate female characters and blah, blah, blah. No. People, both men and women, loved Faye in the anime because she was a strong, powerful female. But then they completely fuck her up. And then they say, oh, it's just because you hate women. No, men and women of all creeds and genders and this and that, they loved Faye. She's a memorable character that is still loved. One of the most cosplayed women in anime at conventions. People loved her and still do. But when you take a character like that and you fuck her up completely, you're going to get some pushback. Ein somehow being a fucking robot, gender swapping a goddamn dog. I mean, is that how woke we are now? We gotta gender swap dogs? Ed. No. It's just, but you get what I'm getting at. When you take these characters and you try putting them in real life or live action and you fuck them up, don't be surprised when there's blowback. Because then people will just look at it as what it really is, a cheap cash grab. You're taking a franchise people know that will be very nostalgic for some people, that they're going to watch it regardless. And whether they like it or not on their side, that's still views. That's still viewing time. Especially people like me who said, I'm going to give the whole thing a chance. I watched all 10 fucking episodes. I watched all of them. I don't like it. Apart from that one scene that I said was fucking hilarious, it's just not worth it. And with them coming out with the Yu Yu Hakusho live action, I'm extremely worried. I think the cast is going to be a Japanese rendition of it, which hopefully they can do. I mean, they tried Attack on Titan and stuff like that. That didn't fucking work out at all, or Bleach. But when it's more grounded in reality, even though Yu Yu Hakusho is not really grounded in reality, with spirit powers and demon world and spirit world. But, I mean, hopefully it's better. But, point is, animes don't translate very well. Some of them do, and maybe Cowboy Bebop could have been done better had it been taken and given the respect and passion and dedication that it deserves, but it wasn't. And that's the downfall of it. That's the downfall of pretty much everything now. Between this or, say, Ghostbusters or, just an IP that people love. They just continue to make those because they know that people who are nostalgic about it are going to go see it. It's a good way to get new people in. They don't care if it's good or not because, they're going to make the money. But watch it if you want. It's on Netflix. It's 10 episodes. Each episode is around 30, 40 minutes long. See for yourself. Don't let me convince you. It's just my opinion. So, anyways, that's going to do it for me. until the possible season 2 where we have to deal with Head. Oh no. Anyways, you guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.